Since the dawn of time, man has longed to swim with fish. Small fish, perhaps, but still fish.
Underwater technology opens up that door into really one of the great last places that we have to explore.
Nothing has stopped this noble pursuit. Nothing except crushing pressure, lack of oxygen, and hostile underwater conditions. Your idea of a good time? Welcome to the world of the submersible, where good times, science fiction, and madness unite. One of nature's biggest jokes is covering 75% of the planet in water and then making these ocean depths inhospitable to human life. Despite our aquatic design flaws, we cannot seem to suppress an inexplicable urge to overcome these limitations and discover what lies at the bottom of the ocean, or the lake. Here I am at the Halliburton Forest submarine to channel that deep ocean urge. I am actually about to enter an ambient pressure submersible. What is that, you may ask, my landlocked and ill-informed friends? I haven't got a clue. But Dave does.
Welcome.
Hello, Dave. A pleasure to meet you.
Looks like you're ready to go.
I am.
Okay, for the next few minutes, you really need to pay attention because I gotta go through some of the stuff that's gonna happen to us out there while we're in the submersible. All right, you're in. All right, first thing, we're looking at pressure.
Right.
As we go down the water column, because we're into an ambient pressure sub, the pressure is going to change a fair bit. So each time we go down about 33 feet or an atmosphere, the pressure of the air is getting actually more and more dense, and the pressure is building up substantially. As an example, we have this thermos that at an atmosphere and a half went from round to square because of the outside pressure pushing down on it. So that's the amount of pressure that's going to be put onto our bodies.
Jeez.
Okay?
So no coffee, is that what you're
No
saying?
coffee, nope. Because there's no bathroom down there. One of the things we've got to remember when we're down there is that when the air is this dense down there, there's a small molecules of nitrogen, which can actually enter into the bloodstream. And this is where you get that term called the bends. It's a condition that can happen, and it's almost like you've been drinking way too much. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to be careful of that.
Right.
Last thing I want to say to you.
Yeah.
You're here, you're keen, I
Okay.
can see you ready to go.
I'm into it. Let's go drive this up, Dave.
It's an all-dry submersible. You don't need the wetsuit or the flippers.
You know when you wear the wrong outfit to the party?
I'm good.
This sub is the world's first dry ambient pressure sub built specifically for bringing tours to explore the lake.
There we go. Oh, it's nice. You're in.
Yeah, man!
You know, Dave, I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that I am ever so slightly claustrophobic.
Really? Okay, well, you know what? Just breathe normal. You'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I feel I should be okay. I mean, I've spent a lot of money, a lot of time in therapy, so I've worked through a lot of it, so it should be okay. Onward ho.
The basic principle of the ambient pressure submersible is that the air pressure inside the cockpit is always a constant 3 pounds per square inch above the water pressure outside the sub. The ballast tanks in this sub are for achieving neutral buoyancy, where the sub hovers like a helicopter, not going up or down. By flicking a switch in the cockpit, the ballast flood valves can be opened. This allows air to escape out the tops of each tank while water floods in through their open bottoms. Blowing ballast reverses this procedure. The sub actually goes up and down, forward and back and sideways by operating a joystick in the cockpit, which manipulates 10 different electric thrusters. Nice!
Underwater technology opens up that door into really one of the great last places that we have to explore. And it sort of is like space, but it's closer at hand. So I think it really fascinates people that way, with the potentials and the opportunity. Vancouver's become sort of a hotspot for the design of underwater technology, and I think part of that is in tribute to Phil Newton's work here. And he's been a fixture in the Vancouver diving scene for decades.
My first exposure to any diving gear at all was, I guess, in the early 50s. And in Vancouver, you can imagine it's kind of cold here, so the diving didn't catch on the same way that it did in California and Florida and that sort of stuff, where you could just go in your bathing suit. Here, you had to wear something to protect you from the cold. So it was a little more laborious to go diving. So that's pretty much how I got into this odd business of designing and building diving equipment, because I wanted so much to go diving, and it was very hard to get equipment. So I built a lot of the first gear that I used.
He looks at things from different perspectives. He's got a very creative mind, and his passion isn't just about underwater technology, but it's about art, about history. And I'm standing in front of one of his inventions, the newt suit, which is really a one-person submersible. It's also called a one-atmosphere or an atmospheric diving suit. The person inside would feel the same air pressure that you feel sitting in your living room, but it can take you down to as deep as 300 meters without having any effects of the pressure.
When you see the kind of stuff that I do, you think, first of all, of engineering. And you think, oh yeah, so this guy figures it all out in mathematics first, and that nothing could be further from the truth. What I start out with is drawings. And so I do freehand sketches of what I see in my mind. And then in those sketches are the bones, the skeletons of what I need to do engineering-wise. And I'm relentless when it comes to getting that stuff done.
In 1985, after 6 years of design and testing, the newt suit finally made a splash. The first of its kind, it maneuvered by a set of thruster packs and got its power from the surface via an umbilical tether. It quickly became the U.S. Navy standard and is now used by many of the world's navies. Now, the newt suit may not be what you picture when you think submersible, but this one-of-a-kind sub allows you to float around like a hummingbird while remaining completely unaffected by outside pressure. Now that seems relaxing.
People have done this a million times. People have done this a million times. People have done this a million times. God knows why, but they've done it millions of times. Think I'm nervous? Imagine submersible pioneer days. The first people to step into one of these babies and go down, down, down.
In 1934, William Beebe and Otis Barton went down, down, down into the ocean to an astounding and terrifying depth of 1,000 meters. They did this in a steel ball called a bathysphere, which means deep sphere, and was tethered to the surface by a single cable. By 1960, submersible technology moved ahead again with another dynamic duo, this time a legendary Swiss father and son team, Auguste and Jacques Piccard. They designed a little number called the bathysphere, which means deep boat, and named it the Trieste. The Trieste blew all known records out of the water when, on January 23, 1960, it reached an unbelievable depth of 10,914 meters. Success fueled the Picard's desire to invent a submersible that did more than just go up or down. As the superpowers of the day fought for outer space domination, these two explorers continued diving further and further into the unexplored reaches of the ocean. Only this time, NASA was on board.
Ben Franklin is a submersible that was designed and built for one very special mission, and that was to study the Gulf Stream. And the plan was to have the submersible drift for 30 days through the Gulf Stream, going from Florida up towards Halifax at about a depth of around 200 feet. So once the crew got into the submersible, the hatch was sealed and it wasn't opened again until 30 days and 11 hours later. The mission had a couple of end results, and one was to do a real thorough scientific oceanographic study. The other part of the mission was where NASA was involved, and they were curious to see how people would cope with being stuck in basically a tube. And that was to help NASA better understand what would it take for people to survive in outer space for an extended period of time.
The mission was a huge success. According to ocean scientists, this was the beginning of the modern submersible age. The Ben Franklin had allowed humans to access the ocean over a long period of time. Unfortunately, its success was overshadowed by another giant leap for mankind. Yes, folks, as the Ben Franklin lie in the Gulf Stream, man landed on the moon. A setback for the submersible, but not the end.
They just solely for the sake of variety, do you think we could just once go left?
You don't like my driving here? Would you want to take it over?
Really? I thought you'd never ask.
Okay, let's do the switch. Why don't you go back first?
Okay. That's good. There we go. Okay there? Yep, oh yeah. Yep, that's good.
Okay, I'm gonna go over this way.
You go over there.
Will you come in?
There we go, that's good.
Are you okay there?
Yeah.
Just try not to bump too many switches.
Pulled something there, that's for sure. Whew.
Nice work over there.
Nice.
Grab a hold of the stick.
All right.
It's all yours.
Nice.
Try not to hit anything.
There's nothing like driving towards your own destiny, even if it is a little bumpy along the way. By the 1960s, the next phase of one-atmosphere submersible development was doing just that. Alvin was built in 1964 with the goal of fulfilling the dream of manned deep ocean exploration. Alvin, who is to become the most famous submersible of all times, was originally capable of diving up to depths of 4,500 meters, reaching up to 86% of the ocean.
This is Bob Brown from the Alvin Group at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and I'm sitting in the mock-up of the Alvin personnel sphere. I've made over 110 dives in Alvin. I started back in 1979 as a full-time pilot. Our driving is done with the pilot looking out the viewport. We have about a little bit less than a 90-degree field of view. The scientists will be sitting on the floor, looking out their respective viewports. Feet are often overlapping. It gets quite crowded in here.
With daily 9-hour journeys to the bottom of the ocean, Alvin not only made submersibles famous, he redefined the notion of too close for comfort. Woods Hole, Massachusetts is still home to Alvin, where the latest generation is being built. This updated sub, which doesn't have a single piece of the original Alvin on it, will be capable of diving up to 6,500 meters. This advancement in submersible technology will open up the remaining 13% of the ocean, allowing humans access to a total of 99% of the world's underwater regions. This means that Alvin will need a little help from his friends. Meet Abe, an unmanned underwater autonomous vehicle, an AUV that works in tandem with Alvin. Abe is programmed to go out to sea in the evening and scan the ocean, generating highly detailed maps.
It's the kind of map that a submersible pilot would like to drive by. You know, he can actually look at the map and look out the window and say, oh yeah, I can see where we are. That lump is this one right here.
While Abe continues to make its mark on the submersible world, the race is on. Submersibles are being designed, tested, built, and improved upon all around the world. And while the technological advances of this modern age have been significant, almost unbelievable, it continues to be the human desire to overcome our underwater limitations that drives the engine of submersible innovation, so to speak.
This is a 2,000-foot micro sub, and this is very much like an underwater sports car. So the control of this sub is phenomenally good. There's a lot of this is done with software, and our touchscreen inside, you can elect to go with different depth settings. One is called auto hover, where you find something you want to look at on a wall or on a wreck or something, and you want to stay there while you operate manipulators or cameras or anything else. You just put auto hover and it'll hold you at that position. There are no subs in the world that have that sort of sophistication in their altitude keeping and their navigation and positioning.
You know, there's nothing like hanging out with your pals at the seafloor to inspire you and keep you on the cutting edge of underwater design and technology. Although, listening to late 70s rock bands in the sub might just do the trick as well.
So this is what's usually called a kiss boot. You wonder, what on earth could this possibly be about? And this piece right here is the ankle joint for the new exosuit. I always had the idea that what I wanted to do was to build a lightweight, free-swimming suit, something that you could swim with. So your means of locomotion was just like going out snorkeling. But this thing doesn't move like that. It moves on an angle like this. So It's only about 75% efficient compared to your foot. So if you have a platform that could move up and down inside the boot, and then this, say, was an outside piece that moved. So you have these things like so, the inner one moves, the outer one moves with it. And you have the advantage that the fin then moves exactly, in this plane rather than on an angle.
So this is a model of the exosuit that I'm primarily spending my time on right now. This is a slightly earlier version than what I'm currently working on, but what I'm currently working on is sort of top secret, so I can't quite show you that yet. So we developed a model using spheres and cylinders because they're the most efficient structures for resisting pressure externally. And then we see how the pressure is going to affect the torso. And then we're slowly refining that design to get the weight down and get its strength up. My role is, in some ways, to represent a link between Phil's vision and reality.
I have in my mind that somewhere, a century from now, 2 centuries from now, some little kid's going to be sitting on his father's knee and he's going to say, "Dad, is it really true that there are people up there?"
Dave, is it true? Are there really bathrooms up there?
You know what? Weather's good, water's calm, and there's nothing better than when cool people get together with neat machines and do great things for this planet. Cheers to them. I've made that mistake before. You only do it once.
How did I do that? I'm still underwater. There are trees underwater. I don't think being submerged is very good for my mental health.
In British Columbia, we estimate that there are approximately 40 million trees standing underwater, and worldwide, a conservative estimate is that there are 300 million trees standing underwater, and that's on every continent. Anywhere where there's hydro potential, there's likely been a hydro dam that was created and trees were flooded.
We're here at Triton's Victoria facility, and what we're looking at is the Sawfish Underwater Harvester, which is the world's first deep water logging system.
The Sawfish is a remotely operated submersible. It is connected via a tether to this control booth where a pilot controls and operates the vehicle.
This is where the operator sits when he's controlling the Sawfish, and he uses the various controls here. He's got a joystick for controlling the thrusters on the Sawfish, and then he has 6 monitors. 4 of them are dedicated to cameras to give him a full view of what's going on underwater.
Once in sight, the pilot lines up the Sawfish with the tree. The grapple grabs onto the tree, and the Sawfish-specific airbag system punches an airbag into it. The chainsaw blade moves smoothly through the tree, and when cut, the grapple releases the tree. The Sawfish has to be the coolest new submersible around. All of this thanks to Alvin, really, the original king of cool and the first ocean crusader. But without a certain journey to the bottom of the ocean in 1977, submersible technology may have gone the way of the electric car.
It took a major research project, which happened to be Project Famous, a French-American cooperative program that went to the mid-Atlantic ridge, to finally demonstrate to the science community that manned submersibles were useful.
The Mid-Atlantic Ocean Ridge system wraps around the globe for more than 65,000 kilometers, with 90% sitting innocuously in the deep ocean. This ridge was the source of intense debate on the surface of the Earth until Alvin intervened and took scientists directly to the scene of the crime, where they were able to see firsthand that the ocean floor was made up of large continental plates that were slowly moving apart.
So the submersibles allowed them to have a much bigger and more encompassing view of what was going on, and it settled the question of continental drift.
Alvin, the little sub that could. Nice. But it was the discovery of thriving animal communities at hydrothermal vents on the mid-Atlantic ridge that forever changed our view of how life itself can exist on the planet. The animals thrive in an environment completely devoid of sunlight, deriving energy from chemicals spewed out by the vents, living unlike any other life form on the planet.
As soon as I had heard about hydrothermal vents, I was immediately fascinated with the idea of studying animals around these seafloor volcanoes. And I was encouraged to contact somebody in the field with whom I could do that kind of research. On my first dive, when the lights first came on and you could see the topography of the Earth's surface under all of that water, was something to me that reminded me almost of a cartoon I watched as a child. And of the three of us in the submersible, I was actually the first to see a tube worm. And I felt like I couldn't even speak. And it just came into view like a curtain being lifted on a stage. Here was the object of my affection and also the object of my research. It was absolutely outstanding. I'll never forget that moment. What's unusual about these large organisms is that they have chemoautotrophic bacteria in their bodies that essentially provide their nutrition. And the fact that these animals could live decoupled from sunlight represented really a major landmark in scientific discovery.
Life decoupled from sunlight? Isn't that just one step too far for mankind? Not according to Phil Newton, whose vision of the future, you guessed it, comes fully alive at the ocean floor.
One of the things that I would really like to do is an idea I have or a concept for something called vent-based alpha. And vent-based alpha is nothing more or less than a Mars colony, such as the U.S. plans to put on Mars, but at the bottom of the ocean. And so people will live there, work there, and get their power from the heat vents. This is the black smokers that you see. That's the plan. Ambitious? Absolutely. Ambitious as hell. Will it happen? I sure hope so. And if not in my lifetime, it will happen.
As much as I'm happy to be back on land, you haven't heard the last of the submersible or the submersible inventor, who places the notion of dream and emotion at the heart of scientific adventure.
That's better. That's better.
Nice job.
You know what? Not bad.
Well done.
I like your submersible a lot.
All right, let's get out of here.
With deep ocean exploration reaching less than 5% of the ocean's floor, you can be sure that new species and theories about the ocean and life in this universe will continue to expand in the years to come.